This is my new ENGL cabinet. It's an oversized 4x12 cabinet made in 2003, or actually the speakers were made in 2003. And if you are a little bit of a nerd like me, maybe you already know where this is going. This cabinet in fact is mounted with the infamous Vintage 30s, but apparently this is when Vintage 30 were at the peak of their tonal qualities. I actually was really curious to find out if there was any truth to that. So I tried to figure out a way to get my hands on some of those speakers from that era, and of course the very famous example is the Mesa Boogie oversized 4x12, which is a classic, of course, but those are quite expensive and also not very easy to find. So I found this, which is meant to be kind of the rival of the Mesa oversized 4x12, and it sounds really good. I am so happy with this cabinet. So there's not a lot to say about this cabinet apart from the speakers. These are 8-ohm speakers, and I specifically wanted 8-ohm speakers because apparently they are a little smoother. They have less high end, so it really helps with very distorted tones. And also, even if the cabinet is straight, the two top speakers are actually slightly inclined, like on a regular 4x12. Apparently this also helps with, internal resonances and the standing waves, so that is good too. So just to give you an idea of the size of this cabinet in respect to this one, just, it's absolutely huge. It's like that much difference in height, and it's absolutely massive in size. This is like a normal 4x12 cabinet, it's standard cab. This is absolutely huge. I really got into Vintage 30s after listening to Nolly talking about how it's basically his favorite speakers, and it kinda defines this range of years of production for the Vintage 30s, where according to him were the best, which goes from 2000 to 2003. The only difference they have with the Mesa Boogie ones is that these ones are made in China. And according to the internet, the real deal is the Vintage 30s from that year range made in the UK, because the speakers put in the Mesa Boogie cabinets were made in the UK. But actually, I don't think there's a real difference between those. These actually sound amazing, first of all, but I also think that they sound really close to the UK ones. I haven't tried that myself, but listening to, there's a lot of tests of Mesa Boogie cabinets for that period and comparison with other speakers, and I think these are kinda in the same ballpark. Definitely, they very much sound comparable to those ones that I heard, at least. So in this video I want to share some of my results. I want to do basically a comparison with my other cabinet, which also has Vintage 30 from 2005 or 6, I think. I was never able to get a good, convincing, full, yet aggressive sound with that other cabinet, which is a Brunetti 4x12 cabinet, because it's just too harsh, too brittle. It really needs a lot of work to get it to sound good, and I was never satisfied with it. So that's where this comes into play, and I must say this definitely is a very different story here. So I can definitely see why there's so much hype around these kind of speakers. This actually is the sound of the Vintage 30s that we are used to in the modern metal productions, basically. So I recorded some DI tracks and I reamped them through my PV6505 mini head with an Horizon Devices Precision Drive in front. So it's kind of a replica of the famous Tube Screamer into the 5150 into the Mesa oversized cabinet, but in a different flavor. And it was recorded, of course, with an SM57. So enough talking, let's listen to this big boy. So here we are in Reaper. I've got a project here with some reamped guitars I'm using for a song. And as you can see, I did a bunch of positions in two speakers, the top two speakers of the cabinet. And yeah, I was just trying to experiment a little bit with positions, and I also made a little comparison with my Brunetti cabinet. As you can see here in the tracks, I tried a bunch of different positions, like on the edge, on the center, and more on the side of the speakers. So I'm gonna start with these tracks here, and then I'm gonna switch to the other ones. Let's hear it. So as you can see, there are some very noticeable differences, not very much. On the first two tracks actually, these sound a lot more similar than I expected. But for example, you can hear that this one is a little bit fuller, a little bit darker than the other ones. While this one, for example, is a little bit more bitey, with a little bit more present high end. I must say I really like them very much, except maybe for the side speakers. This sounds a little sounds a little boxy, maybe, definitely a little bit too dark for my taste. This could be good maybe blended with some other positions, but this definitely sounds a little bit more unnatural, definitely, because it's a little bit more on the side of the speaker, far further from the center, of course. So you have another project here of an older songs, which I also did the same thing. I reamped the guitars multiple times. I also really like the results on these ones. Let me tell you, I absolutely love these tones because they are full and yet they are very articulate. They are not muddy, they are aggressive. It's basically what the Vintage 30 is supposed to be, and it's what I was struggling to get with other cabinets, or even with a lot of IRs that are actually Vintage 30s, but maybe not from this era of Vintage 30. I definitely get the hype about these speakers because it's definitely surprising when you compare them to other Vintage 30s, like we're gonna do now with my old Brunetti cabinet. I'm gonna let you hear, let's say, this one first, and then I'm gonna switch to the Brunetti. I mean, this is night and day difference, right? I just moved the microphone, plugged the speaker cable onto it, recorded. and this is the result. And I think it's very clear now what the difference is and why working with some Vintage 30 is such a struggle, because just hear this. I mean, it's overly mid-rangey, it's very fizzy, it doesn't have a lot of body, it's not aggressive in a pleasant way, in a very musical way. And to get this to sound good, you're gonna have to work much more. And to be honest, it's not even guaranteed that you get to the same results at all, because you would have to get crazy with EQs, start notching out frequencies. Let's hear the other song. I mean, even the brighter tone on the reamping with the ENGL cabinet is much fuller than this Brunetti. And for instance, the microphone is not placed at the center in the Brunetti. It's a little bit on the side, on the edge. So even then, it's still very harsh and very stiff in a way. Just not such a good starting tone. I mean, listen to this. This is at the center of the ENGL. Every time I switch back to the Brunetti, it's like, oh my god, what is this? It's way off. And I promise this is just the same setup. Just move the microphone, plug the cable, and hit record, and it's just way different. Let's go back to this. It's night and day. And in this song, by the way, the guitars are in standard tuning. But yet still being in standard tuning, it's so full. So let's wrap it up. I really love this cabinet, and actually the speakers, because that's where the real magic is happening. Those speakers from 2000 to 2003 are just unbelievable. I was shocked when I heard the difference side by side, and it was like, finally I'm getting the tone I was hearing, but I was struggling to get as easily. At least. The only downside to this cabinet is actually that it is freaking huge. So if you want to carry it around to play live, it's a little bit of a pain because it's so heavy and so bulky. I'm not personally planning on taking it on gigs and stuff, but you can make some IRs and use them in modelers like quad cortex, camper, fractal units, whatever, which is actually what I am doing with my band Fate and Barrett in our campers. And I am also planning to release an IR pack of this cabinet in the near future. I'm still doing some tests, some experimentations, but I'm really liking the results, so I think an IR pack is coming soon, I hope. So if you're interested in getting tones like the ones I showed you today, stay tuned. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe if you want, and I'll see you soon.